Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandre Pacheco da Silva, and this is Law and Technology series, a set of interviews with incredible scholars to discuss the impacts of new technologies in the legal field. I'm a law professor at São Paulo Law School at Getúlio Vargas Foundation, and I coordinate with Professor Marina Pfefferbaum, the Center for Education and Research in Innovation. Today, we have Professor Dov Greenbaum from Harry Hadner Law School in Israel, and Professor Greenbaum directs the Zvi Mater Institute for Legal Implications of Emerging Technologies and has a joint appointment at Yale University as an adjunct professor in molecular biophysics and biochemistry. I'm very happy to have Professor Greenbaum with us today because he's an expert in the law and technology research field and conduct courses in different topics at IDC in Israel. Just to mention a few examples, Professor Greenbaum teaches big data in the law and genetics, introduction to law and technology, international intellectual property, among several others. And in February 2019, I had the opportunity to watch Professor Greenbaum's presentation on space law at the University of New South Wales, exploring the subject in different perspectives. And I was amazed to consider this topic as a topic to research and teach, but also with the ideas from Professor Greenbaum at that moment. So thank you once again for accepting our invitation, Professor. And I'm happy to actually see that Professor Marina Pfefferbaum is with us today. She's an expert also in the law and technology field, and she will conduct this interview with me, asking questions for Professor Greenbaum as well. So our first question for you, Professor, is how is technology impacting the legal field?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for the very nice introduction. I just want to correct that I am somewhere, some bio somewhere may say that I'm an adjunct. I was an adjunct at Yale. I'm still affiliated with Yale as a researcher, but no longer as an adjunct. So just to clear the air, just so no one from Yale, sees this and gets mad at me. In terms of how does technology impact the legal field? I think that's a great question, and I think we can divide it up into a whole host of different parts. So, for example, we can take the most obvious initial, and that is, how does technology impact the learning of the legal profession? And we only have to look at how we're conducting this interview right now, and that is that law students are now learning on Zoom. They are finding all areas of technology in order to learn the area of law. And so technology has become a huge part of just learning about law. Many of the students may not remember or may not have ever had access to this, but libraries used to have books in them. And when I was a law student, they took us to the library and they showed us the books and they said, here is how you research legal cases. And I don't know if that's still done. I don't know why anyone would do that, but we all use technology now in our academic, just in learning how to research cases. We're using basic sort of technology, such as databases on Lexis or Westlaw or whatever is used wherever you are. That's also being part of the just the learning of law. Now, in terms of the practice of law, there's a whole host of really interesting legal technologies that are involved in that area. In fact, there's a whole area called legal tech, which is the technology for the practice of law. And this area is also divided up into various sorts of subsections. So you have the technology about actually the administrative practice of law, which I should admit I find a little boring. But there's also the technology about actually practicing law. So there is an artificial intelligent computer called Watson, belongs to IBM, and one division of Watson is called ROSS, R-O-S-S, and they are involved in using artificial intelligence to research law, just looking up case law and doing what a first-year post-law student might do in a law firm. There's also other sorts of technologies that are all built around sort of the process of practicing law. There is a famous sort of application built by a computer science student in Stanford University. And the purpose of this is to circumvent the lawyers and bring the law to the people and allow people to fight tickets without traffic tickets in particular, without having to deal with lawyers. Here in Israel, we have applications already where, again, the goal is to get rid of the lawyers or to circumvent the lawyers that allow just citizens to interact directly with small claims courts and allow people, I guess, to sue more people. That said, that's just sort of the basic practice of law. There are other areas of technology that are also being slowly introduced into legal fields. So primarily things like smart contracts, which is sort of overturning what a contract means and is threatening various areas of contract theory in the application of smart contracts. But smart contracts are becoming more and more important in the practice of law and in areas where legal issues come up. And so in the metaverse, in the areas of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, we see the implementation of smart contracts. And again, smart contracts are essentially just computer code, and they are effecting a contractual obligation via computer code. Another interesting area that I'm actually currently doing some research on, and again is the application of technology in the area of law, is the issue of whether or not virtual reality technology should be introduced into the court system. So primarily in an adversarial court system where you may have multiple parties, and these parties may have expensive lawyers or they may have expensive props, consider the opportunity to actually use virtual reality to, for example, put the jury or the judge into the actual shoes of the defendant. And so they can actually see what was going on. And so this is an issue that we're actually looking into right now to see whether or not the importation of this technology into the area of law is fair or unfair, and what might be the implications of that. So that's just a quick handful of areas where we see technology being incorporated into the area of law, again, in the area of legal education, in the area of legal practice, and then in the area where citizens are interacting with the law. So it's a wide world, and it's growing, and it's exciting.
That's so fascinating, Dov, really.
Okay.
Really, great to hear all of that. But I have one more question. Is there a field of study that we can call law and technology?
Okay, another amazing question. And I think the answer is both yes and no. Historically, I think what we've perceived to be this area of law and technology has focused very narrowly on issues like internet law or intellectual property law and things like that. So either they focus very narrowly on a particular area of technology, or they focus very narrowly on a particular area of law. In contrast, I'm trying to get around that. And in fact, my institute, the Tzvi Meitar Institute for Legal Implications of Emerging Technologies, is actually specifically designed to sort of move beyond all that. And in fact, we look at all technologies. We are broadly interested in technologies in the areas of biotech, high tech, clean tech, all the techs. And we're interested in the legal applications of all these technologies. So it doesn't necessarily have to be intellectual property. There's also privacy issues that come up. There's employment law issues that come up. There's contract law issues that come up. There's tort law issues that come up. There are so many areas of law that we think are really, really sort of intersect and are really interesting. And so again, is there something that we can call law and tech? I think you can refer to the field broadly as law and tech, but we hope that there shouldn't be any constraints. I think, I think we should be able to say that literally every class being taught today in a law school can include some technology components, can include some aspect where technology has upended what we've thought to be the standard and the normal, and now technology has created a whole new set of questions. So yes and no is the answer.
Very interesting. So I have a third and a final question for this short interview for you, Professor Greenbaum. That is, what should a law school do regarding the impacts of technology in the legal field? So
I think, again, another amazing question. And again, I think this is a multi-part question, and there are multiple issues that have to come up. So one of the questions may be, what does this mean for the future of the legal field? What does it mean for employment in the future of the legal field? Are law schools creating too many attorneys, given the possibility that artificial intelligence can take over some of the basic responsibilities of attorneys? That's one question that law schools have to grapple with. Another question that law schools have to think about is, how do we create an educational environment that allows students to become part of this new emerging area of law and technology, given that I just said that there are no areas of law where technology isn't becoming an important component. So how do schools teach students to thrive in this new environment? And of course, another question is, technology is constantly changing. The law is very slow in terms of changing. So how do you teach a student today for a legal field that might change radically in a couple of years? How do you teach a student today to deal with legal issues with particular areas of technology that we could have never even imagined only a couple of years ago? And to that end, I think sorry to be a commercial for my institute, but to some degree, this is what we try to do at the Trimeitar Institute. And we acknowledge that the law is constantly, it is slightly in flux, but the technology is much more in flux than the law can ever be. And so we throw our students into the deep end, trial by fire. We introduce them barely to a technology, and we say, go out and examine and learn and be independent and problem solve and do your best to think about independently what these issues are. Because again, at the end of the day, when students leave the law school, they need to have the tools to deal with new and emerging technologies, even if they're not technologists, even if they never focused on intellectual property or the internet or something like that. In law school, they will find themselves quickly being involved, either using technology in their practice or facing issues that are the result of technology. And so again, our students are very fortunate to do these sort of long project-based sort of analyses where they go out and they examine these issues, not within the constraints of a law school, not within some sort of box, but they're taught to think outside the box, to think about issues that perhaps don't even exist yet. I have students right now that are, one set of students is looking at something called rules as code. This idea that that legislation will eventually be written such that it's machine consumable. And then, there are only a few countries in the world right now that are actually working on this. But this is a future project, so they have to be able to think about the future implications of this. I have another set of students that's looking in the area of neuroscience and brain-machine interfaces and what might be the future of that technology. We have students that works in the area of virtual reality and genomics and space law. And again, all of these issues are sort of forward-looking, and I think it behooves law schools to to help their students think about emerging areas that don't yet exist and think about how the law can be applied in these areas. And also, I think it's very valuable, particularly because law is always about precedent, is to think about how we can apply laws that exist today to future problems of tomorrow. Given that the law doesn't change, this set of tools that we can say, how do we think about a problem that the law never conceived of with the current set of laws that we have? And again, I think that's a very important tool that that students can learn in law school and take with them in their legal practices. So again, a long-winded way of saying, what can law schools do? They can join my institute. And we're always looking for partners. We're always looking for students that want to collaborate with our students. We've had students from various universities around the world collaborate with our students on various issues relating to law and technology. And we are very much open to having other students come in and interact with our students. We feel that that's the best way for students to learn as well, because the world isn't not only going to be one that is very much infused with technology, but it's going to be a world where standard boundaries are going to fall away, and students will appreciate learning to understand the world from another person's point of view. And that's what we're trying to do. So thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Professor Greenbaum. I think that's it for our interview. Thank you for sharing your ideas, your thoughts regarding that subject. And for our audience, thank you again to watch this series, and see you next time. Thank you again, Professor, to be with us today.
Okay, thank you.